Hello, in today's video, we'll be covering analysis models. This would be our last chapter for Module 2 and it will serve as a bridge for our succeeding modules. Please keep this in mind that as software engineers, we are here to solve real-life problems and our solutions should have a bigger impact. So, uh, planning and analysis is the methodical guide, no, that will tell us as to whether we should be killing our project or should we continue it to the more uh, or into the next phases because uh, not planning and analyzing well will really lead us into more costly projects. No? Yeah. So to proceed. This is still part of module 2. So basically our course outcome is for everyone to be able to really do their own uh, requirements analysis. So here we have 5 topics. So we'll go through systems analysis, use case modeling, and so on. So I will be providing you with the core concepts and also provide you with demonstration so that you can apply it, uh, your learnings into your own analysis. So this would be very important, no, for budding or aspiring software engineers because we will be uh, improving, no, our skills in order for us to become really effective software engineers. So because we won't know in the future where we will be heading, no, so uh, we can be we can start as junior developers. However, the foundation to become a good software engineer is to really have that uh, strong skills, no, in ideation, into analysis, and really uh, less into coding itself, no, because coding is part of the software development process. But before we really continue into those things, so we really need to have strong grasp on the foundations. So to begin with, so since software engineering is just borrowing concepts, no, into other fields. So and as computer science students, no, there are certain limitations in our curricula. However, it would be uh, good to know that in software engineering, so we are not limited with the subjects or the courses that are offered uh, in this CS degree program because software engineering allows us to borrow these concepts, no, that are relevant to the software engineering course. So here we look at systems engineering. So this is a very broader discipline, no, unlike software engineering. So it focuses on a lot of things, no. Uh, uh, it is very important for this bigger discipline to have core knowledge into business systems, no, and its related courses and also project management. So we will be integrating portions of these topics into this little subsection of our lecture. So systems analysis. So for this type of people who are into this work, no, systems analysts. So the goal really is for them to understand and empathize with their clients' needs. So I hope you always remember that we are not solving our own problem. So we are going to go around the the community, no, or to our client, whoever they are, no, and really understand their pain points. Look into their organization, look into the systems that is currently working, and see which part are needing help or needs improvement. So if we avoid no careful planning and we just go directly into implementation, so it will really lead us to client dissatisfaction. So if you can remember, no, a client satisfaction is the ideal uh, goal for engineering. So if our clients are not satisfied with our projects, so it would be likely no that they won't be using the software that we developed at all. So we spent time and money, or they spent time and money, and in the end, no. So it's just a waste of those resources if they will not be using it. So, systems analysts, no, so they are responsible for analyzing the current system. So when we talk about system, so it doesn't mean the computers or the digitalization. So these are the different uh, uh, entities, no, group sets of entities, groups, no, departments who are uh, work working as a group and contributing to a greater organization. So, for example, if we have, uh, for example, in our school, no, we have different uh, departments, so which constitutes the whole university. If we're talking about businesses, so businesses have different departments as well. So they have HR, they have this engineering department, they have this research and development, marketing, and so on. So basically, systems analyst looks into these various uh, subsystems and identify the areas so that they could propose improvement to support the continuous operations of these uh, organizations or businesses. So uh, uh, to be able to share our analysis, no, as technical people, no, to non-technical people, we use these different modeling tools, no, and techniques so that we can have this common understanding with our clients. So one of which is use case modeling. So let me share this to you. No, uh, the topics that covers modeling, diagramming, and a lot of other modeling techniques are covered in a separate course or subject, which is systems analysis and design. However, again, we will be integrating portions of it into software engineering. So only the things that are relevant, no, and essential to the activities that we will be doing in this course. So UML, so this is a large, no, uh, uh, standardized graphical notation for modeling software, and there are a lot to learn in this specific notation. No, however, no, we will be only focusing on two techniques. So first, we'll talk about use case diagram. So uh, this is a very high level, no, a description, a visual description of what our uh, software will be proposed to our client. So uh, the way how we create this one should be clean and simple, and it should be understandable to our client as well, who are not into developing computer programs or software. So again, this is a high level UML diagram. So it represents the actors. So basically, uh, we will cover these things later on. So the actors can be people, it can be another system, no external system who will be interacting with our system. that we are going to propose. So uh, this UCD will be showing the relationship with our actors to the use cases. So later on, I will be providing uh, a demonstration on how to really implement this one or to design this one. And this would serve as a basis not to illustrate and validate the functionality of the proposed system before development. So basically, we will be creating this one. We will be presenting this one to our stakeholders, and through series of deliberation. No, so again, uh, we have our recommendations. Our clients have their own needs, and together with that, so we create our series of requirements that both no uh, the client and the people who will be working on the project thinks would be the minimum viable product of the system. No, so everything should be prioritized. No, and and any features that can be moved into the next version must be taken into documentation and review as well. So that would be another topic, no, for managing uh, requirements. So basically, we have this notation. No? A system is a rectangle, an actor is a here, and our notation is a stick man. Then our use case is this sphere, and we have these different relationships. So when creating use case diagram, so although we have this standardized notation, you can be creative as well, no? So just make sure that we follow the core conventions. So a a rectangle again for the system. Then an actor can be it can be a caricature, it can be a picture or whatever, but as long as it is clear that it is an actor, an entity that will act on the system, and so on. So just don't mind the colors. So I'm just using these colors to differentiate. No, you can have a black and white version when creating use case diagram. So we have this series of steps. So later I will be providing you again with a demonstration. So what we are going to represent in this use case diagram is an imaginary form builder platform. So when we talk about form builder platform, you can think about let's say Google Forms, no, and other similar products that we can, or services that we can find online. So the first step is to represent our system. So this specific box or rectangle, no, we can resize it as long as no the text is still readable. Now, if you have a lot of use cases, so you can resize it to a larger rectangle. So again, basically, it's just a rectangle. Now, it's better to display it as a portrait version, no, so that it is more cleaner as based on the design that we'll be covering later. So for a while, okay, let me share again my screen. So now that you have your system, no, you have this box and you place the name of your system on top of the box, inside on the topmost side of the box. So let's say you have the social media platform or whatever platform. So again, use this convention, a rectangle and the name of the system on the topmost part of the box. So your next step is to represent the actors. So basically, uh, the actors of the systems are external entities. So when we talk about external entities, these are people, no, or hardware devices, or maybe another set of programs, another set of systems that can interact with our proposed system, and they can be grouped according to their interactions with the system, which will be shared after. Diba? Here we can see our first actor. However, we can further, no, uh, specify what type of actor are these things, no, are these entities that will be interacting with our system. So first, let's talk about the primary actors. So basically, these are external entities that provide data to our system or might need data or information out of it. And we place this type of actors on the left side of our box. So again, always remember that when creating your use case diagram, if you have a box, a rectangle, place all of the necessary actors on the left side. Then you specify the the type, no, or the name of that specific actors. So and you change the name or label based on the context of your project. For example, you have this e-commerce system, no, for farm products. So you can add farmer, buyer, middleman, or whatever, no. And and also we also have these secondary actors. So bear in mind, these secondary actors are people again, or are programmers or another type of software, that basically ensure that the system is working or may provide additional information or data to our system. No, but it's not part of our system. So, kana siya, maybe you have an external service, for example. So, you may add a specific service. So, it might be a blockchain or a specific uh, uh, maybe a specific server, no, or a system that very integral to your application or to your software. Then next is place everything, no, into the box, no, place every feature, every module that are required for your system to function, no. So a use case is just uh, a feature or a subsystem, no, that provides the developers, no, a view of what the clients need. So basically, these are the user requirements. No, we are just converting this into certain uh, parts or subparts of this system. So as you can see, we use these spheres, no, and the convention for naming our use cases basically is just a verb before a noun. So basically, it tells us uh, what it does, no, and what what specific transaction it is doing. So, for example, we can say authenticate user, manage forms, manage users, and so on. So as you can see, in practice to really simplify how we create our use cases. So we can group together, no, in database. We've learned about CRUD, no, or basically in another term we call it as add, edit, delete. So we can group those functions together and use this manage verb, no, to serve as the catch all use case for those specific operations. Then, for example, again, we have this example. So verb, then noun. So view analytics, fill out forms, generate reports, and so on. Maybe if you are developing or proposing an inventory system, so manage products, manage categories, manage customers, or if you are into, let's say, social media, creating a social media, you can set and manage posts, no, manage bookmarks, and so on. And again, don't focus yet on the design, because the way you create your use case diagram will really change, no, based on the arrangement, no, of these things, because this can be further customized or adjusted based on the contents of our system. So later on, again, I will be sharing you where to get these things. So in the relationship parts, no? So basically, if you can remember relationships, so these are lines and arrows that we can place into our use case diagram. So we can actually create a very generic actor, no? Our very generic actor is the user, no? However, for use case diagram, we need to be a little bit specific on what type of user it is. So as you can see, before we provided the owner and responder, no? And this owner and responder are just basically all users, no? Uh, they are just set, no, to this very specific type of user based on who created the forms. For example, in an e-commerce website, no, it depends on your solution. It depends on your decision as to which, if you want to create a separate uh, group of entities, no, for seller and buyer. However, for example, for Facebook, diba, if you are familiar with Facebook Marketplace, any user can set up his own uh, product, no? He can sell his own product, no? And he can also browse products that he want to buy, no? Unlike other platforms, for example, Lazada, where you create somehow a separating account, no? For a special account for seller and is a basic account for the customer or for the buyer. So we can read this arrow, no? Unidirectional arrow as a uh, generalizes. So this owner actor generalizes the user actor. So basically, it is represented by, again, an arrowhead, pointing towards a more general type of actor. So next step, so very important. So our actors, no, will be communicating on the specific use cases that are found inside our system. And always remember, when an actor communicates with the use cases, it is not the notation, no, it is depicted with a solid line without arrowheads. So very important to remember. So to be able to pass this specific course, you should be able to do it, no, correctly. When you create a use case diagram, you link the actor to the specific use case that he has access to using a plain line, a solid line without arrows. So always remember that. So as you can see, no, the owner can authenticate himself, no, when he logs into the account, and once he is already logged in, he can manage the forms that he can created, basically add, edit, delete. Then he can view the analytics, no, for the people who have used online surveys. Basically, you have experienced that you created the form, you edited it, no, and you view the analytics afterwards, and you have your uh, responders, no, who also needs to log into their Google accounts to be able to view these forms, and they basically fill out these forms and submit it afterwards. Then on the back end, it is very important to know that once we create a system, a software, there must be a person who will be managing the whole system. So we will be asking that during your defense, no nga, who will be the caretaker of the system, who will receive the system, who will manage the system. So later on, we'll be seeing, no, in our future topics, how to set different levels of users. So again, on this specific example, no, so you can see an owner communicates to the specific use cases. But again, now in reality, any users can be an owner or a responder. So this just displays which people has the access rights to specific features or use case of our system. So we have this another example. So it improves, no, the 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 quality of our use case diagram, because it can add more detail, no, we have this specific uh, relationship where a base use case can include, no, a another use case that are basically uh, always part of this bigger na use case, no. So basically this sub use case, no, or common use case can be used by multiple other main nga mga use cases, and it uses this notation, no, from the base nga use case we have this dashed arrow pointing to the common use case, and we include this label, no, this uh, uh, chevrons, or greater than, less than and greater than symbols, no, and include nga text inside it. So please don't be confused, no. So basically this fill out forms always includes the submit form use case, because we have these specific operations, no, lying underneath, no, nga after filling out the form, the user is typically expected to always submit the form. Then we have this last type of relationship. It is called extend. So we use this extend for rarely used uh, use cases, no? Basically, it's just the variation. What if the user does this? What if there are certain scenarios, no, that prevents our operation to become successful? So for example, if we authenticate our user, so sometimes, no, it can be the wrong password or bad connectivity, then we show error. So again, this is just a very simple example, no. Later on we'll have a more realistic uh, example for these things. So again, if you can remember, for manage forms, basically we can have this uh, more common, no, I mean more specific operations. So we can, if we have a bigger space, no, we can improve on this, no. So for the manage forms, we have the add, the edit, the delete form, or the share form, and this uses the uh, includes our relationship. Again, for includes relationship, the arrow is pointing from the base use case to the common use case. So on practice, when creating use cases, no, uh, the maximum should range about 20 to 50 use cases, including these common and variation use cases. So if you can simplify it further, so it would be better, no? So such as this one, we can omit this add, edit, delete, and share forms, and just focus on these single use case manage forms. So here is another example of an application, a content creation application. So basically, no, this is a blockchain with a blogging service running on top of it. So of course, you want your algorithm, no? So, 'di ba, when browsing Facebook or social media, there is an algorithm that helps us, no? Or the software or the system uh, follows, no, to provide more relevant contents to you. So maybe that could be a negative na uh, feature, no, which can lead us to doom scrolling or bedrotting, no, but that's how businesses operates, no. They want their users to be using their systems. So for example, no, we have this curator. So this is a very specific keyword in context to this specific system. Basically, he curates his news feed, no. So basically, uh he authenticates himself, no. Then of course he need to always to validate his username or his or her account. However, if there are errors that he or she will be encountering, so that's the moment where the system will display an error. So as you can hear, we use extend. Then the specific curator can aggregate or view an aggregated feed, no, or news feed. So basically, to be able to aggregate the feed, so you basically need to get the recent blog data. So for the blog data, there must be a title and a body and a series of metadata underneath. No. Then if the curator himself want to view the blog, no, the system will render it for him and will read again the complete blog data. So he or she will be able to view, no, the title and the rendered blog, because for this specific application, the blog is written using Markdown and it should be rendered into HTML. So of course, if there are errors, it will happen. So an error will be displayed. Then after reading the blog, oh, okay. So after the curator will be reading the blog that has been rendered. So basically, he can curate the blog. He can rate it. He can provide feedback, no, comments, or bookmark it. Then, if he doesn't like it, he hides the blog. No, there is an option there. No, a more button, not interested or hide blog. Then we have these rare. I mean the this is always, no. So that is include, no. So if you hide the blog, it automatically updates the muted topics. So it will parse the blog. No, there is a series of tags in there, and it will update the muted topics for this specific curator. And as you can see, we have this secondary uh, actor, the custodial wallet. So basically, an external entity, no, that supports the system. So siya, uh, through this creator, no, it can authenticate this user. Then it needs to contact the custodial wallet so that somehow that is where, no, how it can access the blockchain and so on, because the curator itself is just the user, no, there is a mechanism underneath that that somehow is like a middleman, no, before it can operate into the blockchain itself. So that's why we put the custodial wallet there. So let me share you with a live demo, no. So I've read over some of the submissions, no, and let me see first. Okay, so uh, let me share first to you the submission of Almazan. So stop sharing and let me present this submission of Almazan. Okay, so basically his research gathering includes online interview or face-to-face interview. He visited the site. Let me zoom this in. He visited the site. He was able to have access, no, to existing documents found on the office. Then basically, since this is a government agency, no, so and this is very specific, so kana siya, uh, basically you can just skip this part, no, the sampling method. As you can see, uh, the population size is just one office, so basically he needs to somehow uh, gather information of maybe one to three people, ano, no? So ano siya, but this is okay already. And based on his assessment, on his analysis, so he gathered these primary responsibilities of his application. So the app would securely store chainsaw records, no? So allows the user to encode and update the information and so on. And other desired applications. So basically, uh, these are requirements that the clients may want, but we think no are would be better to be added later on, no, on the succeeding versions of our system. So we keep in mind that the primary responsibilities would be our minimum viable product. And we are not just limited to six, no? If we have more requirements that we think are important to the operations for the successful operation of our client, then we can add more. Or if we have less, so we can have fewer use cases. So based on his assessment, so as you can see, so these are the functional names. So the and again, this should be mapped on the part two, no? So we have six here, and we expect to have six uh, functions for his system. So change saw registration, record management, filtering, and so on. And he have these uh, uh, system requirements, no? So the app should provide guided forms and so on. And this would be our basis when creating the use case diagram. So we'll look back into this, no, and serve as our basis when we create this use case diagram. So let me open another. Okay. So let me present this one. So again, there are a lot of uh, services, software services that you can use. So for example, we have this lucid chart. However, again, in analysis models, although now if we have the capacity, if we have the access to these resources, it's okay to use this one, but we shouldn't be limited by this paid software. So if you need to draw it on hand, that's okay. Uh, Personally, not to have a simpler na method, so I just use uh, PowerPoint. No, so let me share my PowerPoint with you. Oh, this one. Okay, so basically, again, we create our system, and according to Almazan, no? So, for a while, how to exit? So, chain inventory. So, let me check first. So, this is the name of this system. So, chain inventory. So, you can just do this. So, again, place the name of your system on top of the top side of the box or rectangle. Then let's study first the system that is proposing. So there will be users, no, who will be encoding and update the chainsaw records. There will be people who will be focused on monitoring and decision making. So na encoder, and there is a person who is on top of them. Then highlights. So I don't know yet, no, because I'm not the owner of this proposal. However, no, I think the people who are outside the DENR will not have access to the system. So basically, if you need to ask something, you need to go to their location before you can get this information. So basically, we only have uh, minimum of two users, the encoder and maybe the supervisor, no, for the decision making. So okay, let's go back, no. So again, so basically natay two users. So let's have this one. Basically, we'll just copy paste this one. And of course, we should add an admin because these specific users, mga si encoders, si supervisors, so although they can be permanent employees, but basically they can be changed in the future. Now, what if uh, the encoder will be resigning encoder? Let's just use the keyword encoder because personally I don't know yet on what's the proper job title for this specific actor. Let's just use supervisor here, supervisor. So the admin will be managing, no? Who will be which person will be assigned as an encoder and which person will be assigned as a supervisor. Okay, so let's create the use cases, no? We'll just update this one later. So again, when naming use cases, we use verb plus noun. So register chainsaw. Let me just paste these things here. So register chainsaw. What is this record management? Okay, manage chainsaw. Then view registrations. Then generate reports. Then view notifications. Then lastly, uh, backup data. So other instructors, no, might suggest that to arrange this neatly, no. For example, this one, arrange this at the center. But again, it is not necessary, no, to to make your use case uh, aligned at the center, no. So because with limited space, no, for example, let's make this like this one. Sorry, or that one. So it really depends on the content of your uh, or your use cases. View notification, backup database. Okay. Okay. So basically, our next step is to connect these things. No, for example, the encoder can register chainsaws. He or she can also manage chainsaws. Can view the registrations. Then the supervisor, no, he can also depending on the context, no, on the project, no. So basically the proponent should converse again with the client and really present his his own creation, no, his own use case diagram so that they can have a common understanding before uh, continuing with the software development. So the supervisor can generate reports. Then basically, no, the encoder can also view notifications. Again, this is my interpretation. Again, it is based on the analyst, no, to really create the accurate representation and be able to converse, no, or communicate this with the uh, his client. So as you can see, the supervisor can manage, can view registration, generate reports, and he can also view notification. or we can expand it, expiry notifications. So actually, the expiring notification is basically the system generated. So basically, the actors would just view, no? Since this should be automatic already. So there should be a job that should be running underneath. Then basically, the admin, as you can see, based on our initial analysis, this lacks no specific use case. Who will be managing the users? Manage users. So who will be creating the people, nor the access to the system? Of course, there should be an admin. Now, as you can see, so, sir, si supervisor, siya man ang admin. So, however, simbako, what if mamatay si supervisor? Simbako, no? There must be another person who will be managing this data. What if si admin mamatay? So, of course, we have the programmer. So, basically, we have these admin accounts, no? So, as you can see, uh, there are instances no nga, some system, no, based on practice, they omit the authenticate user. But with the problem of cybersecurity, no, that is really common these days, we need to ensure that all of our users, all of our actors are authenticated before they can access these use cases. But again, that is not the role of the use case diagram. No, this is not deterministic. So as you can see, there are no arrows. No, nga, before you can register, you need to authenticate. So this just shows which users are allowed to access the uh, specific use cases in our system. No, so basically, the admin doesn't really need to access everything. No, so basically, he just need to maintain the system to keep it running smoothly. So as you can see, this is the most basic representation of the project of Almazan. But of course, based on his uh, knowledge, no, based on his assessment, he can further improve this one, no, or maybe add more missing use cases. Diba, it's part of our requirements gathering. If there are use cases that are important to make our system functional, but were not gathered during our initial gathering. So we can consult again and again with our clients. So after creating this one, no, this I think this is already ripe to be presented to our client. And very simple, no, and to be understood by people who are not into programming or into software engineering. So maybe you can say nga, ma'am or sir, so this represent our system. So basically, we have this different user, we have the encoder, we have the supervisor, no, and we have the admin. And these are the features of our system. So basically, you log in, you register the chainsaw, you manage the chainsaws, you view the existing and registrations that are in the system, including whatever metadata that are assigned to it. Now you can generate reports for the uh, decision making. So there is a feature which you can view which registrations are already expiring, and you can also regularly back up the database for to ensure no that there are regular copies in case of maybe calamities or cybersecurity attacks. No, so you can restore your system after those incidents. Then the admin can manage users, no? If there are new hires, no? So examples, encoder is a JO. So basically, after the end of the contract, the admin can replace him or her. Same with the supervisor, no? if the supervisor mobalhin of different nga site and will replaced by another one, so admin will be managing the roles, no, of these different users. So that ends the demonstration for our use case diagram. So let's continue with our lecture. No, this would be very long, but I hope you just go through it because these things are very important. No, for you to really have a very strong foundation into understanding uh, the gravity of your role as a software engineer. Because although we're saying that this is the work of a systems analyst, but of course, as software engineer, you will be also upon uh, having a different role no nga, programmer ka or designer. So you will be the person who will be reading these documents. So next is this use case scenario. So I guess we'll just end no sa use case scenario because this is quite long. I will provide a part two of this one, which will be covering other topics as well. So for the use case scenario, this is the technical definition of what is expected for each use case. So basically, this would be your backup, no? Whenever the client asks you, unsa may tabo for this specific use case, then you present this use case scenario. So this represents the standard flow of events, no, and the alternative path, no, the variations. If the user does this, if there are errors, no, what will happen? So this is just the companion of your use case diagram. So this is the most simple no, use case scenario. So for the use case name, you basically just type this the use case. For example, manage users, manage registrations, register chainsaw. So basically, for the summary, so this is your goal. This is the goal of this specific use case. Then for the actors, it can be one or more. No, especially no if you can see in our previous example, there are use cases that are used no by one or more actors. So you provide the precondition so that that specific actors can continue with this scenario and the post conditions after performing this use case scenario. Then you provide a step-by-step process no on how to complete this specific workflow. And for each step, what what would be the response of the system that you have proposed. Then you can provide one or more or zero or more variations no that may uh, occur no during when performing this specific use case. So let's have this example no to be able to authenticate the user. So basically the summary no is allow the user to authenticate using Google OAuth 2.0, or it depends on the requirements of the user. No, if they just want username, password, or they want this multi-factor authentication and so on. And which actors no uh, have access to this use case scenario? So for this one, the admin should authenticate himself, or it depends no maybe si admin has different means to authenticate na siya is master key and master password, master username and master password. But for this one, everyone should log in using Google. So the precondition no the browser no or the instance no which is accessing the service should be logged into a Google account. So of course, kay mo login gud ka sa Google through Google Auth. So of course, you should have access to a Google nga account. Then post condition, the on a basic na flow, on a successful flow, no, the page redirects to the dashboard page. So the steps, no, to complete this specific use case. So the user should be in the website, no? Then he or she clicks the Google sign in button. Then the system would respond to load the Google off page. It depends, no? It can be a pop-up, it can be a separate nga tab. Then the user select the desired Google account. Then after successfully pressing, no, the questions or prompts by Google, then the user will be redirected to the dashboard page. No, this would be the straightforward flow of the whole process. However, you can provide exceptions now if there are errors encountered using the Google OAuth process. So an error message will be displayed. No? So, syempre, that is part of the Google nga process no nga. I-close niya ang tab or the pop-up and you will go back to your login page and an error will be displayed there. So, as you can see, here for manage forms on this specific add use case, so it allows the user to add a new form and specifically this is the owner of the form. No, the precondition, so the session where the user is already logged in should be active while accessing this form page. Then upon successful operation, the page redirects to the main forms page and updates the list of the forms that the owner owns. No? And here are the process. So you should be in the forms page. Click the new form. The system will load the builder page. The actor customize the contents. Then the system updates the form interface and automatically saves the changes. Then the actor might preview, no, and the system will load the rendered form and so on. So depending on the analysis or the needs of the user. So we have this exception if the network connection is unstable or was disconnected. So the page will display an error. So for the demonstration, so let's continue with the same project, no? So uh, maybe we'll open Excel. Hmm. Let me present this one. Zoom view. Okay. Oops. Post conditions, basic flow, response, the exceptions. Let's merge this one. Okay. Okay, so let's have this example now from Almazan again. So chainsaw registration. So so again, this should be mapped by our use case. So register chainsaw. So the summary for this one. So allow user to add new chainsaw register or to register chainsaw, a new chainsaw. Then basically the actors now are the encoder. So based on my assessment, so of course Amazon can change this one. So we have these post conditions, no nga. Precondition. So the the user must be uh, signed in using the encoder role. Then post condition. So the chainsaw record should be updated in the database. Okay, so let's say go to the uh, uh, chainsaw page, for example. So the number two, click the add button, three, fill out the details. Number four, example lang, upload the documents. Number five, click the submit button. No? Then basically we do this one 1.1. No, load the list of chainsaw registrations. So again, let us not focus on the UI part on this one. So we'll just focus on what events are expected. 2.1, so load the form, the registration form or page. No, 3.1. Let's say there are automatic validation, uh, display validation responses. For example, if the response is invalid, so na yung mga errors throughout the website or to the entry or visit, approve, no, wala rin metabo for na check mark. 3.4.1, so upload the file to the file storage, no, wherever it is. Then 5.1, display display success message. So for errors, if there is a problem, if there is a problem encountered, display error message. So kana siya. This is the most simplest nga form of a use case, no? And this would guide, no, the analyst so he can communicate with his or her client na this is our understanding of your needs, and does it reflects no the your expectation. So of course if okay na si client, then you can proceed with the next step. So of course the after creating this one, you need to share it again to your client so that he or she knows that you have this common understanding on the system that you are proposing to them. So let's end there for now, no? So and we'll have a part two uh, on a separate video. So thank you so much for listening. So I hope you learned a lot today.